Hey everybody, Matt here. I want to share some of my AI stories. I'm not exactly sure how far this is going to go, but for the past year, I have been trying to really embrace AI, figure out what the future looks like in AI for myself, for ClickBid, software development. Having been in this world for since '95, um, obviously seen a lot of changes and a lot of what we're dealing with in AI right now with code development, um, automations, things like that. It's really been, I've seen it before, in I think it was '97 when websites were able to interact with databases, and the technology was just coming out for Microsoft to be able to, I think it was Microsoft Active Server pages. And like now, back then it was, scour the internet looking for tutorials and how-tos and things like that. I'm not natively a great programmer. I just bang my head against the wall, enough walls that I eventually find my way to the exit. So yeah, so I'm just, I've been really embracing it. I of course started like everybody did with ChatGPT and thought that was pretty awesome. And then in I'll take you to the website. At the end of last year, second half of last year, I started looking at an old program that I wrote. So I work in the nonprofit fundraising space, CEO founder of ClickBid, and back in 20, I think it was 2011, we built this. My wife and I built this platform out of an idea that she had, where you could give based on a grid. So starting at 1 and going up to 100, 250, 500, and people could pick. You can see on the screen here. You can pick numbers on a grid and then make a donation. And the goal is to clear the grid. It's called Sapling, and yeah. So I had the code written in 2015. I use PHP, MySQL, real basic stuff, HTML, CSS, whatever. And I had archived it in 2015. We just, didn't really, I used it a handful of times and then just kind of focused on ClickBid. Then I thought, you know what? What if I use Sapling as an opportunity to bring back, or, Sapling as an opportunity to use AI to bring back some code. I knew that when I launched Sapling off of that archive, it was going to be dated code that wouldn't even run because PHP had advanced and the language or the code base was deprecated and all that. So I did that. So I was basically taking pages, copying them out of VS Code, pasting them into um, ChatGPT and asking it to modernize it. And I did this, and it worked. It was really shocking. Like I couldn't believe how well it would handle it. And then I eventually rebuilt it, and now it looks, I think this is one. Yeah. So here's a testing, and it runs. I mean, it's still PHP. It's I think it's PHP 7 or 8 or whatever. I don't know where we're at now, but yeah. So you can give, and some of these things like the little bursts of color, those were added through AI vibe coding, and so now everything I do in Sapling is all vibe coded. And yes, I could. It's built in PHP, so yeah, I can go in, look at the code, make changes as I want to, modify the site and everything. But what I wanted to do going forward is actually start over completely. Just let AI build the platform that it thinks it should build based on what Sapling is today, and just build a brand new platform. And so, you know, again, I feel like these. This is just my experience. I just clarify that there are best practices now. There are a lot of YouTubers that know exactly how to talk about Claude and code writing and VS Code and content generation and agents and hooks and all these things. I'm just kind of picking it up as I go and trying to apply it. But I think the perspective that I'm bringing to the table, which is common, is that I've been a programmer for, well, sort of programmer for 20 some years, 25 years. And I have my methods, I have my practices that I've used forever. And it's very different now in AI. I don't come over here to, you know, um, VS Code and I just don't pop open files and start editing anymore. I use Claude Code to write code. Now, in my this exercise is really meant. What I'm trying to do is ask Claude to do everything. I'm having it write. It's not using PHP. It's using React, Supabase. I don't even know how to say it. It's not a MySQL anything. It's TypeScript, which I don't know or I've never used. I mean, I can read it, but I don't use it very often. Um, and so I'm trying to just let Claude do the development while I do the management. Whereas for the last 25 years, I've had other people do the management and I do the code. So it's an interesting perspective change when you say to yourself, well, wait a second, this Claude did something. I'm like, whoa, whoa, stop, don't do that, do this. And it's like, no, let it do it and and just let it create something and then critique it and make changes as a manager instead of as a code writer. Because a lot of times it'll do something and I'll just jump into the file, I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. So now I'm gonna, you know, this is funny because I don't even know where it is. Um, where's source? There it is. So if I want to go in and look at the API, go into the admin, go into the routes and start looking at the code right here and say, oh, I need to change this and this and this and this. Honestly, I look at this code and it would take me an hour just to try and understand some of these functions because I just don't do, Prisma. Um, you know, I mean, it's a JavaScript, TS, TypeScript. I don't understand it. And so, you know, but I know enough that I'd probably go in and plunk around with it and then mess it up. And then Claude, I have this idea that Claude's like, oh, yeah, we just did that. So now I'm going to go back and redo it because I just did it this way and that didn't work. But what I find out is, as I'm learning going down this path, I'm realizing that Claude, there's a lot of room for improvement. It's not really as ready as we think it is. But um, so what I, so yeah, how do I bring this, land the plane, man? So where I'm at today is I took Claude and I said, hey, and I bought the max plan and I said, all right, Claude, look at my code base. This is my Sapling code base right here. This is today's code, and I'm not touching it. It's running fine, but you can see it's all PHP. Donate PHP. I mean, it's old school PHP, but ChatGPT updated it so that it uses I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it just uses the modern PHP language, but barely modern. It's not using OOP. It's not using Laravel. It's not using a framework. It's just straight vanilla PHP. So I said, okay, Claude, look at this code base and come up with a new version of what Sapling could look like. And I want you to build it. And I'm going to supervise, but really you build it, whatever stack you want, any of that stuff, we'll use those features. And so it came up with, well, in fact, where I'm at now is that if I go back to Sapling V2 and then now it's told me to fix in there. Oh, shoot. Fix final is it gave me this is a SQL command that I need to run to fix some row level authentication that I don't understand. So I come back in here to, so it's going to, do some policy drops, which seems a little scary. But again, this is a throwaway project. I'm just playing and it's going to give me a warning. Now, I've never used, see, okay. What is the deal with this? So I've never used Supabase. I'm going to say it's Supabase, like Superman. Now I get a lot of it. Like I've SQL tables and queries and things like that. This reminds me very much of MySQL, but row level security is not something I'm familiar with, and now that's what we're struggling with. So I get this error, and I'm like, I don't know what this means. So what I'm having to learn and what I'm excited about is it's teaching me how to, like in this specific example, I've thrown this error into Claude probably 4 times. What I've learned is that after the second, maybe third time that Claude can't figure it out, it's time to back up because you're banging your head against the wall. And for whatever reason, Claude just isn't getting it. So, it's giving me some more, and it's always positive, right? I mean, so Claude is like, oh, well, this is obviously the problem. And then the final version, this is what we want to use. So, I mean, you can see I've gone through one, two, three versions already. Now it's going to do fixing complete all policies. All right. So I'm going to come here, grab this. It gets longer. It's 183 lines. And then I'm going to come back into Supabase and oh, yeah, air operator does not exist. Campaign status equals text. Now, anybody watching this, if there is anybody watching this who is an editor, is going to say, oh, just fix this. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to throw it back to Claude because I'm trying to figure out how Claude can help somebody who's not a comprehensive developer. I'm going to get rid of these files. I think I can do that. This should handle all the dependencies, run this. Yep. Nope. And so what I'm just going to do is paste the error in there and see what it says. Hopefully this is a different error than I've had in the past. So hopefully what you can do is I've learned you can just tell Claude to clear itself and start over. And so Claude uses different README files. For instance, I have a setup guide, a README, test report, placeholder removal. I mean, so, when Claude has done things, it has created these files. And one of the big things I've learned is that you want Claude to update these files regularly. So that way, when it does, like I've been started this morning working on this, and I've been having it update all morning, and it needs to update Claude MD and readme.md. So that way, so that way when it starts a new context window, it's going to pull from those MD files. And if they're not updated, it can be messy. So really, when dealing with AI code writing, it's just so different than what you're used to as an actual in your history as a developer. You're dealing with things that just weren't the same. I'm editing. I'm not editing code anymore. I'm editing context. I'm editing intent. Those are things that I'm not used to doing. I'm used to just kind of going into the code, testing it, fixing it, that kind of stuff, and go from there. Now I'm just watching Claude do a bunch of stuff and try to figure out, what it's doing, and at the same time keep up with it enough so that when it starts to go off on these tangents, that I don't, it doesn't go too far out there. And now all of a sudden I've got this, mess. But what I can show you is while it's doing that is it's quite impressive. So you saw what Sapling was, and now it's created this, some goofy things. I've logged in, finally figured out, got Claude to create a profile, which was buggy. And now you can see here, it's definitely, this AI is like, I don't even know what. I need it to come in and put some context. But what my plan is to take this to Lovable and say, hey, dissect this and turn it into something a little more beautiful. So I'm not worried about the look of it yet, but I'm just going to call it a test, short description test category. I have no interest in this. I have no idea why it did that, but it did. My goal amount this is not how I want it, but basically I'm going to set a $5,000 goal. I'm going to hit test story here. Just put some context in there. Now, next, personally, I don't like the fact that cancel is so big. Next is it's really small, although your eye does land on that. So it's acceptable. Do I want to update a campaign video? Yes. My new version of Sapling is going to be heavily focused on video. Oops. That's interesting. So that I hadn't seen that before where, it says you can have one of 3 videos, and it said you've reached your max, but it hasn't reached a max. All right. So I got one video. That's cool. And that's working. It uploads it to a storage folder on Supabase and then moves it over to Mux, which is where I want all my videos to go, for versatility reasons. I don't know, for high availability reasons. So then I go to next. Now this is interesting. So my campaign keyword, this is something we've done. Picks a keyword. Oh, says it's already taken. So I'm just going to do test 2. Then it tells me what my URL is going to be, but sapling.com is not owned by me. It's sapling.mobi, whatever. It doesn't matter. Now, this is interesting. So I can do, it took the grid differently. So it's going to make a 5x5 grid with 25 squares, and they're all going to be for, what is it? It's going to, no, my goal is going to be, oh, that's what it is. So so it's going to look like this, but then each square is worth $200. So everybody has to give $200 to clear the grid, which is completely different than what I wanted. But at this point, I'm saying, okay, let's just get a fully working prototype, and then I can go in and start building different features. Because when I was using the old sapling, I built a feature where you could ask custom questions, and I don't think I used Claude for that. Maybe I did. And it really did a good job. Like, it picked that one little feature out and built it, instead of me saying, is in the middle of building this entire infrastructure and code base for the first time, I'm just going to get it done so that everything works. And then I'm going to come back and say, okay, now we need to do things like, yeah, this grid thing, we need to change the way that works. And hopefully I'm doing it right. Again, people who know more than me are going to watch this and go, wow, what a fool. But anyway, who cares? So I'm going to hit next, and then it says ready to publish. I like so much of what I'm seeing. I'm pretty pumped. I think this is great. And then I hit publish, and then it'll publish it, hopefully. So this is what this will look like. It's mobile first. If I were looking at this now, funny, because this page is not mobile first. It looked goofy. In fact, I don't know why. I have a scrolling issue. I can't scroll. So anyway, so yeah, there's a lot. It's overwhelming in my head of all the things that have to come together. And I'm like, I've been after this thing for probably, time invested, 10 hours maybe. So it's not terrible, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I really wish it was further along, which is funny because it's incredible how impatient you get, um, you know, when when you're letting AI do stuff. It's like, this project could have taken months to build a minimum viable product, but now I'm irritated that I'm at it for 10 hours. But anyway, so I gave it that error, and let's see what it did. And I do like this about Claude. It gives you a really nice summary. Let's see, fixed campaign status. Yeah, sure. That was supposed to be working. Temporarily disabled stat. I don't never like to see that, temporarily disabled, to avoid database enum conflicts. Enum. Known issues. Video upload currently fails due to foreign key constraints. The video upload happens before campaign ID is passed. Makes sense. You can't upload a video that isn't linked to a campaign first. Temporarily disabled. I don't know what status filtering is. I don't know if that's just like an inactive. The database has lowercase enum types, campaign status. While Prisma expects Pascal case, this is a Supabase Prisma integration issue. For now, the workaround. Yeah, your fundraising. So this is interesting. So Claude doesn't even give me an idea like, well, this is what you should do to fix it. So, okay, great. So now if I just hit publish, I don't know if it's going to work because we were goofing around while it was building. So I'll just hit publish. Campaign created successfully. And now, great. So it's got 1, 2 campaigns. So that was good. So test, that was test 2. Now, if I hit support, so the pictures should be the video, so that's not working. If I hit support, yeah, that didn't work. I hit support. That one did work. What in the world? Oh, these are temporary holds. That was interesting. So people are potentially buying these. But again, this is choose your squares. This isn't what I want. Although I don't mind the layout. I think that's actually not bad. There's a handful of things that need to happen here. Obviously, like this is dumb. Who needs other? That was when I picked campaign stat or type. Man, anyways. But now so I'm like, cool. It seems to have worked. At least the basic, like the absolute minimum is working. Now what I need to do is figure out how to start picking the things I want to fix in what order makes the most sense with Claude. So um, that's a really that's a different thing. Like, how do I communicate with Claude instead of as a developer? I would have just gone in and started banging away at stuff. But now I have to think more like, all right, management. I think that's going to be a hard thing for developers to who, let's say you're a developer, you work 40 hours a week for a software company, and now they're telling you to use AI. And you're like, all right, but one, I have an existing code base. It's not like I'm starting from scratch. How do I get my code base to ingest and understand, a 30,000 file code base? And now I'm going to trust it to do the work that I was doing. That seems weird. So I think there's going to be some challenges. Um, all right. So now what I want to do here is, I mean, this will probably be one of the last things we can talk about here, but my next step is your fundraising platform is now functional. No, it's not, because it's this. What I'm going to do is copy this and I'm going to say, how would you recommend handling this issue so it's not a workaround? You know what? I'm not going to spell it right now. I don't care. And then now what I also did was I hit Shift Tab to go into what's called planning mode. So that way it doesn't actually code anything. I don't want it to do what I used to do, which is just tear into the code and start pulling stuff apart. I actually want it to tell me what it thinks it should do before it actually does it. So there's a plan mode in Claude, which is great. That way it doesn't just start ripping into it. So it's going to sit and think for a while, and then it's going to give me a summary. And if I like that summary, I can say, yes, do it. Or I can say, no, keep planning. And then I'll keep chatting with it. So anyway, so far I'm not, when I look at the process here, I'm not thinking like this is going to be, you know, I mean, is it really saving me a lot of time? If I really knew how to build this and I had the time to dedicate to it, could I have built this thing where it's at right now as a programmer and using Stack Overflow like I used to, or not? So, uh, yes, I do want to do a web search. All right. So anyway, where is Claude saving me time as a developer, opening an opportunity that I didn't have access to? If I weren't a programmer, then yes. But if I weren't a programmer, I would be even more puzzled by these responses. So I think there's a certain level of development skill that you have to have in order to really use Claude. So anyway, hopefully, see if I make another video. How this thing goes. I'm definitely going to be working on this for a long, long time.